Have you ever felt someone's love only after they were gone? I always thought my older sister was overprotective. Growing up, she'd walk me to school even though her high school was in the opposite direction. She'd check my homework, pack my lunches, and always asked who I was hanging out with. It drove me crazy. When I was 13, I wanted to go to my first concert with friends. No parents, just us. She insisted on coming along, sitting rows behind us like some kind of shadow. I remember the burning embarrassment when my friends spotted her. I didn't speak to her for days afterward. In high school, she somehow always knew when I was hanging out with Ryan. This guy she thought was trouble. She'd conveniently need to pick me up early or would show up with some urgent reason. One night, she literally pulled me out of a party where there was drinking. I screamed at her in the car that she was ruining my life. She just gripped the steering wheel tighter and said, "Hate me now if you need to." When I moved away for college, she'd call every Sunday without fail. She'd ask about my classes, if I was eating right, did I need money for books. I'd rush through these calls, annoyed at her constant hovering. Sometimes I'd accidentally miss her calls, texting later with flimsy excuses. For my 21st birthday, she surprised me by flying cross-country. I had plans with friends that weekend, but she'd already booked us tickets to this play I'd mentioned once months before. I reluctantly canceled my parties. She seemed so happy during that weekend that I couldn't bring myself to tell her how much her visit had disrupted my life. Last year, she planned this huge family reunion for our parents' anniversary. I complained the whole time about taking time off work. She just smiled and said, "Family is everything, kiddo." During that weekend, she pulled me aside and made me promise to come home for Christmas. "No excuses this time," she said, hugging me tighter than usual. I promised half-heartedly, already thinking of reasons to back out. 2 months later, she died in a car accident. I was devastated, but also angry. We were supposed to travel to Europe next summer. She promised we'd finally do that sister trip we talked about for years. At her funeral, so many people I didn't know came up to me saying how much she talked about me, her brilliant little sister who was going places. It felt like they were talking about someone else's sister. Dad handed me her personal effects in a small box. Her phone was still working. I scrolled through her calendar and saw dozens of reminders about my life, my exam dates, my work presentation, even my dentist appointment next month. She had an alert set for my favorite band's new album release. I sat in my car for an hour, just staring at these digital breadcrumbs of her love. While cleaning out her apartment, I found this worn leather journal. Inside was her neat handwriting, dated 16 years ago. The first entry was from when I was 7. "Mom's not doing well. The doctors say she has weeks. She made me promise to look after sis. I'm only 15, but I swore I would. I never knew our mom was sick. Dad always told me she died suddenly from a heart condition." I kept reading. Every page detailed how my sister rearranged her entire life to keep her promise. She turned down her dream college because it was too far from home. She worked nights so she could walk me to school in the mornings. She scheduled her classes around my activities so I'd never be alone. There was an entry from the night of that concert. "She's so mad at me for showing up, but there were older guys hanging around. I'd rather have her angry than hurt." And about Ryan, "Found out he got arrested for dealing. Can't tell her how I know. Dad's police friend tipped me off. She'll understand someday." The last entry was from the week before she died. Sometimes I wonder if she resents how much I'm in her business, but I promised Mom I'd keep her safe. Maybe someday she'll understand it wasn't control, it was love.